Hello, Monarchs. Welcome to the first video for lesson 7.1. So this is the first video in Unit 7. Unit 7 is all about exponents and different things we can do with exponents, okay? So our big vocabulary word that we'll be talking about almost every day during this unit is this word right here, this exponents, okay? We should be a little bit familiar with exponents, but we're going to really dive in deep to what exponents are, okay? So when I have a number, so say my number is 2. This is called my base. Okay, this is my base. And then I raise that to a power. So if I raise that to the third power, this is my exponent. Okay, this is my exponent. And this is my base. Okay, I will use both of those terms. All right, exponent and base. All right. So here we have a chart here. We have n and a bunch of numbers, and then we have 2 to the n. So this row, we're just raising 2 to the exponent that is above it, right? So we're going to finish this chart. Here we have 2 to the 0. Now we're going to do 2 to the negative 1, okay? Next is 2 to the negative 2. Then we have 2 to the negative 3. And last, we'll do 2 to the negative 4, okay? So here it has these answers. If we did 2 to the 5th power and I put that on Desmos or on my calculator, I would see we get 32. 2 to the 4th is 16. 2 to the 3rd is 8. 2 squared is 4. 2 to the 1st would then be 2. Okay. Now is where we start to get a little tricky. Now we're talking about 0 exponents, right? We have 2 to the 0 power. Anytime we have anything to the 0 power, anything at all, it becomes a 1. So anything to the 0 power is 1, okay? Anything to 0 power is 1, okay? Now when we have a negative exponent, what we do is we move our base to the bottom. We make the reciprocal of our base, okay? So with our negative exponent here, what we do is we move it to the bottom and then rewrite it as a positive. So now we have a 1 over 2 to the 1st, which is 1/2. Okay, that's how we would simplify that. Okay. So we'll move on to our next example here. Now we have 2 to the negative 2. That would be 1 over 2 to the 2nd power. Remember, anytime we move it to the bottom, it becomes positive, which is 1 over 4. Okay. This would be 1 over 2 to the 3rd power because it becomes positive, which is 1 over 8. And then this last one would be 1 over 2 to the 4th power. And I know 2 to the 4th power is 16. So I have 1 over 16. Okay, so when we have a negative exponent, you'll see that we put a 1 on top and we make the bottom number what our power to the exponent is, okay? All right. So now we're going to go through a couple examples. It says, discuss with your group the answers, pay special attention to the positive, negative value of the exponent. We're not going to worry about that yet. We're just going to move straight on to here. If you look at my rule I made right here, anything to the 0 power is 1. Here we have a to the 0 power. That means that I have 1. Okay. Anything to the 0 power is 1. All right. My next rule, anytime I have a negative exponent, so this is a negative exponent, I move this all the way to the bottom and I put a 1 over it, and this becomes positive. Okay. So a to the negative n would turn into 1 over a to the positive n. Okay, anytime we have a negative exponent, we put a 1 on top and then we move it to the bottom and change our exponent to positive. Okay. So this first example here says to simplify our expression. When we are simplifying our expression, we are just figuring out what 6 to the negative 3 is. So like I said before, anytime we have a negative exponent, the negative exponent goes to the bottom with my number that it's attached to, with my base, and I put a 1 on top. So this 6 to the negative third, my first step is to put a 1 on top. Then on bottom, I put my number with my variable, but I change it to positive. Since we flipped it to the bottom, we can change it to positive. So now I have 1 over 6 to the third, which we would want to reduce using Desmos. And we would see that this reduces to 1 over 200, and it's 1 over 216, okay? 1 over 216 would be the first answer there. Okay. So stay tuned for the next video for lesson 6 or 7.1. Stay tuned for the next video for lesson 7.1.